yeah. Gone on you with the pick and roll. Younger flame, he in sicko mode.
Right, welcome back to the channel and some more GTI content. So we're continuing from where we left off. You'll see the roll cage is painted. Last video we painted that. If you haven't watched it already, go check that one out. Today we're working on the interior basically. Plan for this video, get the full interior done. I've got loads of new parts, I've got custom bits to make, and by the end of the video I want the full interior done. We can shut the doors and we can move on to the exterior. So like I say, I've got loads of new parts, and if I was going to be that standard YouTube gimp, I'd make a video fitting each individual part. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you everything I've got, and then we're going to fit it all and crack on with making the custom bits, because that's where the enjoyment is. Before I run through all the parts, I'm going to rewind to yesterday when I went and picked up the aluminium sheet for my new door cards. Nah, push and rattle. Pull the car forwards and we'll get trailer on. Right, we're all loaded up. Not really sure how we're going to get this metal on, but got some planks, so we're probably going to lay it across and then ratchet strap round it all. We'll see. This is a little contraption to put 2 sheets of 1mm aluminium. Right, we're all strapped up. Let's get to the unit. So picked up that sheet yesterday, we're back down the unit now, and we're going to make a start on the interior. So this is what we bought yesterday. It's just 1mm aluminium sheet. We've got 2 sheets, they're 2 by 1 metre. Should be plenty to do all the front and rear door cards. Make a few custom bits on the dash. To go with the sheet, I bought loads of sponge tape, and that's going to stop it vibrating up against the car. And then I've got pop rivets, which I'm going to use to secure the sheet into the actual metal. So if you watched the last video, you'll know that I've got a bright green roll cage now. And in order to protect that, I bought some PPF, which is just a clear wrap. I'm going to use that to wrap it around like the main parts when we're getting in, probably on here, the door bars, especially the harness bar, because I don't want the harnesses sliding back and forth and rubbing the paint off. So got 5 meters of this, that should be plenty. Now this is the new part that I'm most excited about. It's a brand new Motormech 350mm flat suede steering wheel. I was originally looking at 330s, but all I could really find for that was the OMP Targa, and they're around 200 quid. Got a load of good reviews on this, and these are £80, really good build quality. Nice and thick, really nice to hold. Should do me well. To go with the steering wheel, I bought an OMP Boss. OMP? I think it's Momo actually. Originally I bought the wrong one, it didn't have that cut out there, and I've had to buy another one, but not the end of the world. This is a really good one, good quality. So get this on the car later. So the last part I've got for the interior is this voltage gauge with 2 USB ports. Little 12 volt thing. It's going to come in really handy, this, for charging phones, charging cameras up, camera batteries, GoPro. Gonna get that mounted in the dash somewhere. Apparently it's got a screen in the middle that shows the voltage gauge, that'll be handy to see as well. And to go with this, I've bought an assortment of, I bought an assortment of inline fuses to go with this, from a wire up stuff like the interior light to a switch, and get this in. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get that steering wheel on, because I'm most excited to see that fitted to the car, so I'm going to do that now. That's the new steering wheel on. I've only put 2 bolts in, and I haven't even wired the horn in yet, but I just needed a steering wheel in. I'm going to plan to get everything put together and then do this properly. Maybe in the future I want a 330, but for now this will definitely do the job. So like I said, this video is all about the interior, and I've already made a start. We've started putting all the carpet in, started running all the wires back. We've got still got these ABS wires and that to plug in, which I need to jack the car up for. All the battery and stuff I can do, but everything at the bottom of the dash is fine because I can kind of tuck it away. But all this wiring here that runs up the top, it all runs up along here to this interior light and that. I've kind of started thinking, do I even need it? Because, like, other than this auto dimming thing, which is not necessary, I don't need it. There's interior light, which isn't there. There's a backlight, which isn't there. There's an aerial that's getting blanked off. So I need to come up with a plan of what to do with this. All this wiring, because there is a lot of shit there that's just not needed. Like even just all the tweeter wiring that goes in here. I don't need any of it. I've got no speakers anymore. I'm just now on with tidying up all the wiring, and previously it was cable tied to this support beam here that runs across to the steering column. But I've had to undo it all because, like I said in a few videos ago, that the dash is proper flimsy. I'm going to now do my little support beams. So I'm going to make some support beams for this side of the dash and just on this side as well. Try and come up with a way to get it all nice and rigid, because it's all bolted in from the top and the sides, but in the middle, like I said before, there's no beam that runs down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this same metal again. This is about 2mm sheet. Just going to use this, cut some strips out, bolt them up, and I'll show you once I've done that. So I've just taken some measurements, and around 8 inches, like the minimum it can be, so I've made it just over. Probably going to cut 4 of these strips and maybe self-tapper and maybe use the factory holes, who knows. As long as it's stiff, I'm going to be happy. So basically the exact same as my air filter mount. Just got a bit of flat sheet, 2mm aluminium sheet, cut it this size, and we're just going to place it up underneath here. I don't know if you can see that. Drilled a hole in it, just going to use the standard hole. I'm not sure what that's actually for. I think that's for the airbag, that hole. And just going to use the original bolt, and then I'm going to self-tapper it straight through there. So that's one side fully done. They aren't completely straight. It's not like an immaculate install, but the point is, it works. This is far faster. This is far firmer than it was. That's me proper shaking it. I'm just shaking the camera there. But take my word for it, it's solid. As opposed to this one that shakes like mad. Now, we were lucky with this side because we had these factory mounting points for the airbag module, and on this side we don't have anything, so I'm going to have to come up with a way of mounting 2 in this side, 1 on either side of the clocks, get everything nice and tight, and then we'll move on to the centre console. So I've took this part of the clocks out, and I've found this bit here. Don't know why it's not focusing, but found this bit here that I can probably screw into and then into that frame again. And I've just took the clocks out to make sure that it's not going to go through the clocks. So that's what I'm going to use, is one on that side, one on this side. Once I've done all that, the dash should be really nice and sturdy. So that's one on this side, and there's the other one. Now this is all firm, this is all firm, and start putting all the dash back together. So that's all the dash now built back up, got the clocks back in, got the centre console here. And what we're going to do now is cut it along the top of this radio, where the radio goes in. Unfortunately, it's not in line with the rest of the dash, but can't really do anything about it. So we're just going to cut that off there, get rid of the bottom section. Also going to chop all these vents out, pull all these vents out, and get these bits out. And that's where we're going to mount as USB ports and maybe something else here. Come down there. Oh. Yeah, that's what I mean, it falls like that. Ow! Sorry. Yeah, it falls. Look. Now look at this. Right, that's how it sits normally, but you can let it fall and it's almost flush. I don't know whether to have it up or let it fall.
Let it fall.
See it when it falls? Yeah?
Nah, make something that goes in. Literally, a bit of aluminium, just bend it round or...
Right, so I've just cut this then, and like a dickhead, I've scratched that a tiny bit. I might end up painting this so it's not end up world, but... Shut up, Toby. But I fitted it now and that's the position it sits in, but as I sat it in, it fell down there, and... no, it probably has to, I don't know. I mean, that's flush. That's flush with the bottom of the dash, basically. And that's not, but I think I'll leave it in the factory position like that, and then if I decide I hate it, I might modify it so it sits perfectly symmetrical all the way along. I don't know. But I'm going to take these vents out now anyway. So these vents and these adjusters are like kind of like plastic spot welded in. what you have to do is just drill them out or Dremel them out, just basically get rid of like the melted bit, and then you can just use a screwdriver and pop them off like that. So that's one corner off. Just need to do the other side.
What's the engine you've on for the most time?
And then
Look good, yeah?
oh, I'm gonna have to paint it because I need to smooth them out and make false panels for these on back. That's what we're left with now. Got no vents, nothing. These adjusters, I've just remembered that I do need to smooth these out, so I'm gonna end up painting this, which means that this little damage in the bottom corner is not a real problem, and I'm gonna decide before then if I want to extend it. I probably won't because it's gonna be quite awkward with it not being a flat piece. I don't think it's gonna be that easy to extend. I mean, I could plastic weld something on it, but can I be asked for the sake of it looking a tiny bit better? I'm not going to add to the function of it, so who knows. But before I continue with that bit, what we're going to do is, because I'm fed up of getting in and out, I've already scratched that side the tiniest bit. I'm going to get all this cage PPF'd, all these door bars up there and along the harness bars. If you can see there, just here, scratched it a tiny bit, climbing in and out of the car. Do you know what I'm saying? So I've cut my strip, and I was going to say that I'll film putting it on, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to get it on, do the first one, and once I know the technique, we'll film the rest. That's the first sheet down, and it really amplifies any imperfections, but the main point is that it's going to keep the cage protected, going to keep it looking green, and basically not going to scratch the paint. That's the real purpose of it. So we're going to do this bar, harness bar, the back bar, and the other side door bar for now. Depending on how much I've got left, I want to do these bars, maybe any other bits that are going to get hit, especially down there where my foot is. So I'm going to get all this done now, pick it up when it's done. So we've got both door bars done, the harness bar, rear strut brace, and we've got two pieces, one that runs up to there, just avoiding that corner, and another piece running up to there. And these are wrapped all the way around, and then we had these offcuts because we'd cut the width of it, we'd cut it down. So we had offcuts that didn't wrap the whole way around, and with them we've done this top bar, these top bars, front those sides, and the very bottoms of these. So pretty much every part that you come into contact with in the front and the strut braces, that's where, if I put anything in the boot, that's where it's going to go. All those are now completely covered, and that should help keep a nice looking roll cage. So it's another day now, and as you saw last night, we've got all the PPF done, so that's one job done, and I'm going to make sure I keep this video in order. So we're going to move back onto the dash, and I'm going to continue with the wiring. I've already had a good bash at it so far. Majority of this side's all cable tied up, and as you saw yesterday, we've got it all nice and tight, so pretty much all this is going to end up in its permanent position. Why is Siri just reading everything I say? So yes, pretty much all this wiring's in its permanent position. Going to do all the wiring, get all the ABS plugged back in, all the wiring to the battery. The main problem with this is that there are so many parts of this loom that I'm no longer using because I've removed the modules and the parts that they plug into. I just no longer need them. There's so many excess wires. So like I said, in the future I do want to go through the whole wiring loom and just simplify it, but for now it's just a case of cable tying everything out of the way and just getting it hidden basically. So you can see all the battery cables just been completely filthy for ages, the whole way along. And in fact it's actually marked. Well, I've rubbed it off, but it had left a mark on all down there. So I've just got some thinners out, and we've just started rubbing it with a tiny bit of thinners, and you can already see the difference. Right, look at that, how dirty that is compared to that. So I'm going to rub all that off, get my battery cable nice and clean, and we'll get the battery mounted up. So finally that's all the wiring now plugged in. We've got ABS, alarms, everything in the front now done. I've just superglued the OBD port to the bottom of whatever this module is. At least that's still accessible now. Everything else on that side, all cable tied up. Can't really do anything about that middle one, but like it matters, that just feeds the handbrake cable and what should be the sig lighter. But to be fair, I could probably extend it and not have so much running down and just put all those earths that are there, put them at the top, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. All the wiring now completely done. So the next little job to do is paint the top part of this door, which as you'll see is black, and it looks like they just never even painted it from factory. That's just like maybe the original colour that the door comes in. You'll see that the other side is white, this one's black, and the door cards are only going to come up to about there. So we get some paint on this now. I've got the vents now taken out and we're just left with this little platform. At the back of it, it is recessed, so it's going to be nice to be able to just seal the aluminium sheeting that we're going to use. So we've got one like that, two in the middle, and I'll probably just make, oh no, these are recessed as well actually, so it's going to be easy to do. And then the same, so basically two of each. Make the same shape, they'll fit each other, just get them in. Filming. So that's a quick little mock-up of how I'm going to position these two switches, and I've just realised that this one's actually a bit too tight to slot in nicely, so I might have to trim the edge a bit, but that's basically how it's going to sit. So there's a template for the centre console. I can use the same one for both sides because they're symmetrical. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the same for the side ones because they've got like a kind of like a, show me this. They've got like a bit of a curve on. I know it's going to be hard to see on the camera, but I'm able to see it. They've got like a weird curve to run with the dash, so we'll have to make each one of these. But for now, I'm going to continue with the centre. That's the template transferred onto the aluminium. I'm just going to use the grinder to cut it out. So now I've sanded off the edges and I've bent it to shape. I've just checked this one fits nice. Just need to do the same with the other one. Get all the burrs off the edges and get it shaped up. So those are my two blanking plates there, and that's roughly what they look like once they're in. I'm going to measure the hole for that voltage gauge, cut them, and then we'll paint them all black and super glue them in. Yeah. Admittedly it is slightly off centre, but that's because the drill bit slipped and I can't be asked redoing it like it really matters. So that's in. We'll test fit it. We're going to make the other two and then we'll get them all painted. This is the final one, but this is also the driver's side where I'm going to be mounting not only my headlight switch but my brightness switch as well. To be fair, this one's probably going to be the easier one to do, but as for this, trying to get this the perfect shape, I really cannot be bothered messing it up. So I'm going to do a load of precise measurements and get it cut out, probably use a Dremel to make the hole bigger, and that should slot in there. There we are then, I've finally managed to Dremel out all these holes. They're not perfect, it's kind of hard to do, but once I get some Tiger Seal around the back of them, get them all painted up black, they look pretty good. Just going to get some matte black paint on them. They're not anything spectacular, but they're going to do the job. So I'd planned to use this super glue to put these blanks in, but what an absolute mess up that was, because it's proper runny, it's gone everywhere. You can see there next to that hole, it leaked all over there. I've had to wipe it off. That looks shit. So I've gone back to Tiger Seal, which is working alright on these two. So I can get some on this as well, and then once that's dried, we'll fit it all to the car. That's them all Tiger Sealed in now, and you can see that there's a mark from the glue on the left, but probably going to repaint this full centre panel at some point, so it's not the end of the world. Just going to let them dry and then get it all fitted in the car. I'd like to say I'm a pretty transparent guy when it comes to fucking up and making mistakes, and as I'm installing these back in the car, I realise I've made two kind of not big mistakes, but they're worth mentioning because they are going to piss me off. I've put these the wrong way. So they're slightly different. They've got a slightly different curve on them, this side to the passenger side. And yeah, I basically used the wrong one. And it's probably hard to see on the camera, but I can notice it ever so slightly in person. They don't sit like, easiest way to see it here is the gap on this bottom is close. Obviously there's a smaller gap on this bottom than there is on there, and it's the same on the top, and then vice versa on the other side. And it is really minor. You might think, oh, I'm just being dramatic, but it's worth mentioning. I mean, I'm not going to act like I do everything perfect 100% all the time, and for some reason I didn't check, and that's the result. The other thing that's worth mentioning is when I've been fastening my centre console in, I've now got that all tight, I've used the 2 factory Torx bits there, and then the only other place I could find to mount it would be to drill a self-tapper, which is up there. Drill a self-tapper either side and basically go into the dash. And I've drilled it on the wrong angle, and on this side, if it focuses, on this side you can see I pierced through the dash, and on this side I've almost done the same. I'll be honest, I was in a bit of a rush to throw that in, that's why I've gone straight through the dash, didn't even think to check. And then regarding the vents being on the wrong side, that was just my stupid error. I don't know how I've come to do that, to be fair, because that isn't just me when I've glued it in. That's already been wrong when I cut it to shape, because I had to trim the edge. So fuck knows, but either way, the fit, I'm just going to continue fitting the rest of it, and I want to show you that. So I was going to continue making more parts for the car, just make a start with the door cards and that, but I figured out that I've probably got enough footage for this video, and I also don't have the door pulls yet, they haven't been delivered, so there's no point really starting that. So I'm going to leave this video here. Next time we'll be making the door cards, refitting the windows, modifying them, putting sliders in, making proper mounts to hold them in tight, just basically finalising the whole interior. Get everything back in and shut the doors and call the interior done. So that's the plan for next video, get everything finished in the interior, and then we can move on to the exterior. So that's it for this video. Cheers for watching. I'll see you in the next